Right. We are officially live.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Doing it live.
Doing it
Oh,
live. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Um, this is Traders of Room 110. You can find our links below. Um, Basically, just do a top-down analysis of crypto markets and go into some alts, maybe share some trading wisdom as far as methods to trade, tools to use, things like that. Um, yeah, this is Lonewick. We always like to start with the dollar here, see what that's doing, and then go to the majors and then look at some alts. Yeah, last week we had some big market moving events. If you look at the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just a triple whammy on the economic calendar. We had rates, unemployment, NFPs, all of that. So um, I think the overall idea was pretty bullish on for the dollar. Um, Fed hinted at future rate hikes, things like that. Last week, I talked about coming up and grabbing here. I'm on the daily. I'm going to go look at the 4 hour here. So last week, we talked about taking out these lows and potentially coming and seeking these little equal highs right here back up into the range. Pretty much exactly what happened there. We finally got that break of these little highs here back up into the range here today. Yeah, from here, it's you know hard to say. Kind of expecting like some ranging. I'm not sure if we keep boosting higher and higher. I don't know if the news was that impactful overall to keep making new highs on the dollar. Um, so that's basically where we are sitting here. Do you guys have any thoughts on the dollar? On like where we might, on like, continued strength or.
I mean, where it's at, it is looking strong with that candle
Mhm.
right there. So on the other hand, yeah, it's right into
Yeah, it
your
Yeah, that
does.
one.
resistance here. So
Yeah, that 1035 area seemed to be pretty significant, or was it 103? Yeah, about
Yeah,
1035.
1035.
Yeah, yearly open kind of thing and stuff like that. So it's looking looking like it could possibly head up to 105 ish. There might be some pit stops along the way, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't chart the dollar as much as my other stuff. But that
yeah,
Yeah, if it goes up, I get scared for longs. That's basically it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Really there. Yeah, we kind of determined um, that we were in short territory on a lot of pairs due
yeah,
to the information that came out. You know, not, you know, typically the dollar doesn't just trade on, go up on good news, down on bad news kind of a thing. Often it is the opposite, and a lot of people know it to be that way. But sometimes it can be such strong news that it actually does move in the direction of the sentiment, I guess, or if it's positive news, it could still run higher. That's kind of what we got.
there we go.
So expecting dollar strength, it sounds like overall, whether it kind of stays in a range sort of or continues moving. I mean, there are points here, that we've got a gap up here. I don't know if it comes all the way back up here. It's hard to say. Like I know some people, I've heard some people argue that like the dollar is going to make even higher highs, and it's hard for me to argue that. That seems like we were in an extreme moment, and like we've been in an extreme time of like huge rate hikes, going into this massive move up to the top here. The highest, is that the highest the dollar's ever been?
Oh no,
Oh
it's
no, that's
been
true.
Yeah. If you
Yeah,
go back
there
to
we
like
go.
the
So,
maybe 2000s and maybe the
yeah,
80s, yeah, got a couple that are
yeah, you're
higher.
right. 2000s here. So yeah, I guess okay. Not too crazy then of an argument. Um,
I remember we were discussing it back then, and I was like, yeah, I could, but we had like Ukraine war and we had inflation and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it's gonna, but it could. You just gotta have a
yeah,
plan for if it does. Yeah.
sure. But yeah, it doesn't feel likely. I guess I don't have a super sound basis, but I have a hard time arguing from brand new highs in the dollar right now, at least. Um, so there's a chance, we have this like downward movement here. We could see that some of that cleaned up around like what you said, maybe 105, maybe even as high as like 108 to 109 area in this gap. Um, but which obviously that would ultimately be bad for the rest of the markets for the most part. Crypto would come down, markets would mostly likely come down. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Um, let's check out the economic calendar and see what events we have this week. What's going to lead
Oh
the
yeah.
market, if anything? Um,
Valentine's Day next week, I think is the Fed meeting.
oh, is it? Oh, dang. So, okay, let's check out this week real fast and we'll look at that real quick as well. So yeah, Monday typically isn't anything. We have Aussie rates. That won't really do anything to the dollar.
And nobody cares about
Um,
Aussie.
well, it's
Just
just
kidding.
um, we have Powell speaking tomorrow. I don't know what this is.
Somebody's
Economic
speaking
Club.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay,
Kind
so
of
yeah, so that could, he may say some remarks that move the market, or what you want to look for, as we've said in previous streams here, is the market sort of stalling ahead of that event. So maybe we don't get a lot of action tomorrow morning and it kind of just goes back and forth or stays flat or low volume kind of thing until Powell speaks, which looks like it should be at noon Eastern. That's just potential, obviously, not science, but
yeah.
okay. So Wednesday, pretty much nothing as far as actual market impact. Thursday, we have unemployment in the U.S. Could make a little tick, but usually not a heavy hitter unless it's like a big surprise. And then what do we have? We have consumer sentiment. Could make a tick. Yeah, not a big week. Not a big week.
It's
Worst
not
week.
it's not a big week. It's not a Barry Silbert week. But
So
next week
next
is
week,
kind of
let's
a big
take a
week.
look. Okay,
Yeah.
next week we have okay. Let's see, that's Swiss.
I mean, it's not as big as last week.
Um,
Last week was the biggest
no,
week.
no,
But
yeah, that's like the biggest week you have on the calendar in a year, typically. Let's see here. Nothing Monday as typical. Tuesday we have US CPIs. That'll be a thing.
oh
Yeah,
boy.
that has to wait. And then followed by that overnight is going to be pound CPI. Wednesday morning, US. We have retail sales, manufacturing. That's probably won't make a huge move in the market necessarily, but like it will. It's significant. And then Thursday we have core PPIs. So
isn't
yeah,
there a
it's
FOMC
inflation.
meeting? There's an FOMC meeting next week. But
Oh, is there? Let's see. Maybe that's just not on the heavyweight list here, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not. Apply.
it's the 21st through 22nd. Huh. I don't know. I kept
Okay.
hearing Valentine's Day. I kept hearing Valentine's Day. I don't know why.
It's going to be like a Valentine's Day massacre or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Try not to spend too much more time on here. Yeah, I just wanted to see the following week. So this is 2 weeks from now. Yeah. So anyway, we don't need to look that far out though, do we? Okay. All right. How about some Bitcoin or anything on the majors you have? Magna?
We just want to know if numbers going up. That's all. That's all we
Yeah.
care about. Number go
That
up.
is true.
So yeah, that's it. And so if you want to share my screen, we are the Power Hour for a reason, and that's because we do the stream right at the New York session Power Hour. So if you want to have a look here, let's take off all my fancy drawings and stuff. This is where we're at right now. This is a 15-minute chart right now. You can see it's not looking too hot heading into close for the S&P. Kind of zoom in here if you guys want to do that. This is today's session right here. So you can say, oh, well, we're only down 0.74%, but the way it's closing, yeah, it's not looking too good. You get the dollar above 103.6. It was just weird last week. That news came out like Wednesday. It seemed, hey, Powell's, we're going to do a soft landing here. And then then Friday the employment numbers came out, and they were just, like everyone has jobs now, so that was good. But then but those are like two competing interests, for the Fed, the inflation and the unemployment. So it seems like we're seeing a little bit of de-risking heading into the next FOMC meeting, because they might be worried about, instead of a 0.25 rate increase next time, maybe a 0.5, because I mean the estimators were way off on their unemployment figures. I mean, it's like 2.5 times what they had projected, so they're way off. And so to me it seems like it. But we pumped last week, and we kept trying to do the same thing today, but it just seems that some of the stuff looks overextended. It could get to a point. I mean, Bitcoin, you get to Bitcoin. I got to go to a bigger time frame on this one, but I mean, right at the top of this range. Actually, I don't want to use this chart. Let's go to this one. Yeah, I had showed this one before, last stream, working off the same charts basically. I only move my lines when the number goes against me. Okay, so you can trust that they're the same. But this is the same range that we had going on. We peaked above it, and it looks like we're falling back into it. So it's a good case to be made that we're overextended a bit. And 25,000, you've got to think that's probably going to be, kind of the top if we're going to go up anymore at all. At least for now. Just, yeah, doesn't mean we're going to zero. That's just my opinion. Doesn't mean that it's right. Just means that I have a plan if it does. And if we head up to 25, then I'm looking for big shorts, like big time, at least down to the middle of this range. But we'll see how that goes. I want to pull up the Sol chart, because I had talked about this a few streams ago. This is the weekly Sol chart. This is the same exact range we were talking about. Or a few weeks ago, Wick, I know you remember because we talked about it, where it closed on that weekly, is like right around here. And I was thinking, okay, well, if it's going to reclaim it, cool, I'll take a long, but I'll cut it as soon as it gets ugly. Well, it's still struggling with that. So it's a pretty clean bonk right around that area. Yeah, it doesn't seem to have the momentum it takes to get above that. Looking at these liquidation levels that I was showing in the stream. Let's pull up the BTC one. This one's pretty interesting, because there's a good case to be made that it does kind of go up higher for a little bit. But hold on a second, it's loading. Well, there's a decent case for that. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's why I'm not getting too aggressive with the shorts yet. So hold on just a minute. There we go. Yeah, if you look at these liquidation levels, this is very similar to the high block ones that we used to look at, Wick, except it's just kind of laid out in a slightly different format. But you can see, you got a lot more cluster right here than you got to the downside. Now it looks like some of this may have been taken out over the past few, I don't know, maybe sometime today, but it's pretty thin in this area as far as liquidations. So if you're really looking for some action, you can see a market maker pushing it up into this area, trying to put these people in an uncomfortable position, where they either got to close or be forced to sell. And as you look over here on the feed side, you could see some liquidations over on the right side where it's the gold and it says Rex. It looks like we just have a couple fresh liquidations to the upside.
Interesting.
So,
and so the green lines on your chart is that same representation?
That's a good question. I actually don't. I set this chart a long time ago when me and you were talking about this, and I don't know what those green lines are. I don't think that they're exactly corresponding to these, so I'm not really paying attention to those. I'm more looking at this over on the left, and then I'm looking at the feed, kind of like what Vlad is doing on the ag trades, where you're basically just looking for liquidations, and when you see a liquidation at the level you're interested in, then that's when you get in.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, I think it is actually. Just looking at it closer, I think those are the same as the yellow lines that you have on the left.
Yeah,
just
it could
looking
be.
at the shape. But yeah, that's a cool setup.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So looking at that, so that's why I'm not getting too aggressive with shorts yet, except for this OP short, which I am in. And you're in that one too, still, Wick, right?
Yeah.
But
now with your Bitcoin argument, I'm a little weary,
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that OP is it's its own thing. I haven't looked at the pair or anything like that, so even if Bitcoin does go up a little bit further, it doesn't mean that OP is gonna go up past 310, 320. So you can be pretty safe there. But this is a chart I use for my low time frame stuff, and I screenshot some of this and share it with you guys, but I've never really gone over it. But earlier today, it was Lido. And looking at Lido, this was around this time in the morning. And you saw the open interest just spike up on this, where was it? Yeah, down here. You kept seeing it go up and go up. And then even when there were sell-offs in these red candles, you didn't see the OI go down. And so it just seemed that people are shorting this thing on the way up. And so then when I looked, I shared that screenshot of the Kingfisher, the liquidation map, and it showed that there was a bunch of stacked liquidations to the upside. And that's why I took the trade, and it worked out really well. Where are we at? There we go. Looking at other same kind of coins like OP, you see the OI is just down. I mean, there's just no big open interest. I'm not worried about getting spiked out of this one. Not worried about it at this point. I took one up here. I thought I closed it, but I didn't. And then obviously something happened when I pressed the button or whatever. But it's kind of a good thing I didn't, because then it went all the way down to $3. So I added some more, and then I closed, and then I re-entered again. So that's some of the things I've been looking for lately. It's been working out pretty well. On the SHIB trade, SHIB is something, I don't know what's going on with SHIB. Is there like a SHIB convention coming up or something?
Mm-hmm.
Because this thing's acting weird.
I have no idea what's up with SHIB.
Yeah, you got the other day the dog coins. Let's see, Dogecoin, excuse me, took off, and then SHIB, took off too. But then SHIB just went way more bonkers than. Went way up higher. So let's go to a daily on this one.
I'm curious if Mask did as well. I haven't paid attention to Mask recently, but that's been another like Elon trade that sort of became a dog coin.
Yeah, it totally outperformed Doge. Mask did the other day, and then of course SHIB, is doing the same thing, but it's really like teasing around this level. It's not really breaking down. So the other day, Vlad had pointed out that setup for the short. I think you took it, was it Saturday night? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, something like that.
You guys were talking about it? Yeah, in the chat. Anyway, yeah. So it got up to these highs here, and then it was a good short, and it went all the way down here. And I was looking for a continuation in this area, but it didn't really happen. And so it was like 2 days in a row I woke up and there was nothing but green candles, which was kind of nice because then I could just short them. And so I'd woken up and it was right around this little double top area right here. And I was thinking, okay, if I go into this one, let's stick to that last one. Let's stick to the 30-minute, just because it looks easier. Right around this area, I'm thinking, okay, if I do a short, I'm easily invalidated if it gets above here, because if it does, then I'll cut it and then I'll look for a re-entry if it revisits this excess up here. That's what these shaded boxes are. It's really just the same thing for my market profile. I've just taken away the volume profiles themselves because it's all about levels.
So you know what's funny about that Magna is that I don't know if you saw, but that was my original entry, right, for the or my original kind of entry plan for the SHIB short, and then I posted my idea in the chat, and then I wrote like 15 minutes later, I'm moving my entry to my to where my stop is, as like a fun attempt to try to game myself. So it's kind of interesting that you picked that as as your entry, right? Because that would have been where you would have kicked me out of the trade if I hadn't changed my mind.
Yeah, if you hadn't changed it, and you got exactly the right idea. Sometimes you just get a feeling, when something's just going to move up. You just don't know how far. So it's just like, you know what? Yeah, you can just cut it and then get back in at a higher level. Well, I actually did that, and I just in case, right? Just in case it went up to this level, I would look for an entry up here, but then it didn't. And then you got this big red that morning. I was at the gym and I was like, yes, thank you. So it was nice. Big red. I posted that in the chat, and then it started doing this funny business. Here, let me take off the volume profile one. It started doing this funny business, which has been doing for the past day. As sideways motion, and even while things like Doge and stuff were dumping, Mask is dumping. This thing just kept on. I thought it was going to start making another move back up to this area, and if it was, then I was going to start thinking about, okay, then it's definitely going to go up to this area, and then I'll have to make a decision if I want to get back in it. So like I said, I don't know what's going on with it. There's somebody's bidding it, and I don't know who it is. Of course, we don't know who it is, but I just don't know why. A lot of times when this kind of stuff happens, there's an ADA convention coming up. There's a Link convention coming up. And you'll see funny stuff like that, or the FTM. There was an FTM convention a few weeks ago, or maybe last week, and the thing just pumped like crazy. Well, SHIB, there's no SHIB convention. I mean, not that I'm aware of. I mean, why would there be? It's a fucking piece of shit.
Right. So, probably never will be. Yeah.
Yeah, never will be. So, that one worked out pretty well. At some point, if you guys want to talk super duper low time frame, I can show you some of the moves I made in this area. I got back in and down and all that. And with a little luck, you end up making some money. But it's been a pretty good trade. I'm not sure how to deal with this at this point. I think I might just leave it alone. But another one that I'm wondering if it's topping out is Sushi, is because it's had a pretty good run up. This is on a 12-hour chart. It's ran it pretty good over the past few days. Topped out at 160, highest close 155. And then it wicked the 155 today on that highest close right there. So, let's keep that on our watch list because there could be something there.
Sure.
Because when this thing breaks down, it breaks down hard. But then when it runs hard. So that's kind of a double-edged sword with this one. That's why you got to look for.
There's no argument for it running higher. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're just unaware of what's going on. But.
Yeah, true. But with the market-wide situation, not exactly
very
sure.
Quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally could correct pretty quickly. But, on these 12 hours, some of these indicators look pretty good, actually. Like the OBV looks pretty fucking solid. RSI, which I don't really use. I use RSI more on low time frames, even though Vlad has taught me that I should use it on higher time frames too. But I have it on here just so I can know what he's talking about when he talks about it. And then the AO, you see the AO on the 12-hour, it's like, I mean, that's pretty good. So if the market was to go up to the upside, this could be something that you could get some action into these upper levels. But I'm looking for shorts. That's where I'm at right now. Yep.
Awesome.
What about you, Vlad? What are you looking at?
I mean, I would have to agree with everything said. Pretty much, I'm looking for shorts as well. Um, found GRT. I suppose I should share my screen as well.
Oh yeah, I was in that too. That was nice.
Yeah, so that was a short, really short time frame trade that I took, but then I had to look at the weekly chart, and it just has an insanely strong weekly close. So it's very hard for me to imagine this not like going way higher. And it's one of those coins that have been depressed for a very long time as well.
And the question is, why is it catching a bid?
Right. So I mean, this I think because nobody owns it. Does that make sense? on like a pure like mechanical idea. I mean, the token itself is like a fairly well used one. It's basically it's the Google Play for blockchains, I suppose. So they help index all of the information that is stored on Ethereum, for example, and a bunch of the decentralized applications or dApps, right? Use the graph to fetch data, etc. So it's the protocol itself has huge potential. The GRT's token is supposed to be some kind of mix between incentive token, like a work token, and payment for data, basically. So I don't know how the tokenomics looks on this coin, or like something changed there perhaps, or it's just following the typical trend, which is up.
Right.
Uh,
So you're not looking for any longs on this if it breaks this weekly level. You're basically saying you're just not shorting it right now.
Yeah,
After
so
that we did.
yeah, so this is a tricky one. Like this one, you might consider just longing. Like
Because if it breaks it,
it's probably gonna do one like fairly large move, at least up to 1.5, 1.6, like up to here. And as with always, like it's a huge candle, right? So there's a huge range to fill if that's necessary as well. Like on
it just feels to me like so many of these alts are overextended at the moment. I mean, it's too good to be true. In my maybe if the employment numbers didn't come out that way, then maybe I would be feeling a little different. But that's really kind of keeping us honest right now.
Yeah, and I'm basically looking for anything. I'm looking for reactions above highs at this point.
Reactions above highs. I like that. Okay.
That's basically all. Oh wow, my Siri got triggered off of that. That is amazing. Yeah, I'm looking for sellers to step in above highs at this point. So another example, I guess, is Ocean, which way over here you have this little pronounced high, which is not, there's nothing specific about this high necessarily, except it's the retracement that led to the huge candle down. But it's a high. So no, this is a reference point, a reference point for stop losses in general. And then there's this little gap into bearish order block. And just kind of highlighting those two levels, using them as some kind of range. We did play the first reaction off this, and then a little bit down, and let it go after that. It looks like it wants to kind of run these highs a few times. This is something I could get into fairly soon, I think. Especially now that the AI narrative
impressive.
is so established,
Mhm.
like in crypto.
Man, that weekly ocean chart, is pretty sexy.
And this one is just.
I hate looking at
If it's
I
gonna
hate looking at
pause,
weekly-
before
Yeah.
going to 7.5,
Yeah.
it's gonna be here. That's basically
Right.
the argument.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all you need. Just this many candles up into this level.
I was trading this thing in the 20s too, and it was a good trade for a few days, and then then you look at these weekly charts and you're like, damn, all I had to do is just buy and just hold it. Wow, that'd have been nice, but oh well. The woes of a low
Yeah.
time frame trader. Yep.
Exactly.
that's
So what's
just how it is.
yeah, did you have anything else you were looking at, Vlad? I wanted to see what trade you did today.
Right, yeah.
Ooh, black.
So
But maybe continue, sorry.
let's see. Well, it was the Magic and the GRT, basically. Let's see if I can kind of go back to where this one was. Right, there should be there should be. Yeah, right. So Magic is a new, fresh chart, so it's gone up a lot. And I have no idea what it does. I don't know anything about the token. It's just
Magic, bro.
It's magic. I mean, yes, it's probably like a bad idea to be like short Magic, but that is what happened. Yeah. So basically, I was able to just see these equal highs, and that we ran up and cleared out liquidity here. And so when I saw the chart, I think we were at we were just making this like lightsaber candle, and condition for getting in at that point was basically any retest of this old high, which you can see kind of happened a few times and sold off, and then I actually closed it. I actually think I closed it fairly quickly, just because it was before market open, basically, or I actually held it into US Open, but anyway.
Yeah, that structure is so clean. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, it's just it just stuck out, and I love these setups where we take out an old high and then run down, because as you wrote in the chat earlier, you really you want to know if you're right quickly, and there's no better way than buying lows and selling highs. It's just devastating if you don't use a stop loss, and if you're trying to do it against the trend all the time. Like, it's obviously it's a mean reversion strategy, so it works best if price is somewhat ranging. But
and just at the extreme of a range where it's taken out some liquidity.
Exactly. Yeah. You can see, so one that I opened basically just before the show. Let me see if I can find this. So this one actually went way better than expected, and this was one of those feelings, Magna, you were talking about before, like when you just know that it's gonna go up.
Yep. You can feel it in your plums.
Yeah. So, oh right. I still haven't paid for my pro subscription. Okay. Yeah. So we were.
What?
We were
You're on demo mode?
Yeah, at this time.
Just kidding.
We were about here, and I, without explanation, had kind of a gut feeling saying like I'm early, and this pair is super liquid, by the way. So it'd be super easy to run up above these highs, and really, if you wanted to sell, you would have to run up above these highs if you wanted to sell any like real volume.
Any size. Yeah.
Any size that makes it worth to trade it here, I would say, like, because you don't know if it's going to continue higher, so you want to trade enough size to be able to like capitalize off of this reaction.
And that's on Bybit. You're able to do that on Bybit.
Yeah. So this one's traded on Bybit.
Yeah.
And
I think I need to set up a
where.
Yeah, go ahead.
To like give
I was
you.
gonna say so.
Oh, sorry, Lonewick. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, like, what was the trade? I like. Where did you get in?
Yeah, so for FXS, and I'm still holding this trade. I got in above this high, so I just had a limit order above this high.
Gotcha.
And
Awesome.
when I do that, because it is scary to have a limit order, I have a small limit order here. That would be like maybe 25% of the size I wanted to enter with. And as soon as it gets filled, I get a notification from Bybit on my phone. And if I see the reaction I like up here, then I'll just enter more market.
Nice.
Basically, or like
So
on
you
the
just
way
wanna,
down.
like-
Basically, like as long as the reaction is right, I want to add. That's something I'm like working on to do, but yeah, just limit. Got the reaction. This is what I was afraid of happening when I saw this and I wanted to enter here. And I just had the gut feeling that we're probably going to run these again. And if we do, I would have to close it at a pretty big loss up here. So just felt
Right.
like the right thing to be the counterparty to my own pain, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I feel you when it comes to limit orders like that. It's like, where do you put your stop? How big do you go in? Never do a full position. Yeah, but that's cool. I mean, with that, it's like you had one little chance to get in. Like you had to be there, and so that limit order definitely just tagged you in, and then you can add whenever you want. That's kind of ideal, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Add
And
to your
you
winner.
can see here, like
Yeah.
if we look at this chart as well, like I was able to see this happening as well.
Oh, beautiful. You can see the liquidations just real time.
Yeah. So you can see like either a liquidation or stops being just flooding here, and you see there's still mostly buy side delta here, but still, like for a candle like this, I would say it's a lot of selling happening as well. But immediately you can see like just pretty aggressive selling on the next top. And yeah, just looking at these, like the 10-second charts, when you're in the moment, I feel like is it's like playing Counter-Strike with Wallhack a little bit. They are absolutely incredible to be able to use like these tools, and they are absolutely I think as I don't think I'm overselling it. The problem is you have to be there and watch it, which is,
Sure. No, it really is super helpful, and it is surprising that it's free. It's like, what's the catch? Are they
Are they
will it
collecting
stay
data?
free? Or
I'm sure they are.
I mean, you can, but I mean, on what really? Like, use a VPN or whatever. What you're not entering any data, right? You're not like logging in, or was there a
No.
login? I don't remember. Yeah, I
No,
don't-
there's no login on AgTrade.
No,
Uh-huh.
but they have another site which is I think chart.agr.trade or something like that.
Yeah,
.agtrade.
and every time I try to go on that one, it doesn't seem to work very well.
Yeah, same here, and it's like so I don't know if this is a project that's kind of standing still or something at this point. I think it's basically
That's a
just a
good point.
website that's just looking at the
And it's
Exchange API. So I don't
yeah,
think
it's
it's
still pulling. Maybe it was something they were trying to monetize at some point, and then they didn't, and then now, but it's still pulling the data, and the data is accurate. So yeah, it works for me. Like
Yeah.
the Kingfisher is free, unless you want some of those more advanced things, and it kind of gives you the same thing, but you do have to set up an account. And they're also, they try to sell you a lot of stuff too. Uh, so
right.
it's not like this aggro one. This aggro one seems to be like faster. It just seems like as soon as you log in, that thing starts running. Kind of
Hmm.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like I said, I
looking
wanted
at
to set it up
Bitcoin
where I
here.
could just do just liquidations, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't get just liquidations. Are you able to do it that way, Vlad?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like hopefully we don't have enough streamers or viewers yet because this may be just alpha that like maybe it disappears. Like what I've noticed is that the liquidations that do appear here, they have been absolute guaranteed bounces, except for one.
Yeah.
Don't hear that often.
Except for one, and that's okay. This is with a sample size of maybe 12
Well, the
that
fall.
I've witnessed.
Yeah.
So and keep in mind, it's a 15-second chart. So, but it's enough of a bounce to trade, and you know, if you add
Don't-
something that has confluence with this, of course, you don't want to just trade off of this. But if it comes into your level and this happens, like it's
Yeah, and like you were
perfect.
saying the other day, it's a good way to, if you're the type of trader that likes to be in profit immediately, even if you're not right about the trade overall, so you can move your stop loss to break even pretty quickly. That's also you know, so even if you're wrong, it's like almost guaranteed, it seems, to at least have a reaction in your direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like
then you
yesterday on
you
the
can
Soul,
see,
where
yeah, the Solana. I was just gonna say,
there was just yeah, there was just no follow through, but that had nothing to do with it was just a market wide thing where nothing was really bouncing at the time.
yeah,
So
and this
yeah,
so this is funny, right? Because I think this is the best reaction I've seen so far because I wanted to short this level right here. Um, this was the rally off of the CPI, the unemployment news, and all this, right? FOMC.
oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure. And I saw, and this one is for you, Magna. Divergence, like starting to happen.
damn it,
Um,
yep,
and anyways, so I had this level, and I had I had the monitor, the active trade going on, and as you came up into this, like this last bit of this candle, what drove it up here was I think it was a $60 million liquidation, and that's not a lot of that's not a lot of it's not a big part of the open interest necessarily because it's a large coin, but
true. Yeah, I
it
noticed
is
that too.
when they pop up in this monitor. I think it's because it's from one trader. Like you can actually through the API match, so you get like individual traders trades, not like just aggregated volume.
Okay,
So anyway, my assumption was
Hmm.
that it was one trader that had a position uh,
It got blown up.
of 16 million. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a short position that was blown up here. And
yeah, I've noticed that too.
yeah,
When you've posted about a liquidation, and then I look at the OI on my, but I'm only looking at Binance perps. that, because that's all that, that gives a direct feed to TradingView, that I don't see a big change in OI. And so that could have something, maybe it happened on Bitfinex or something, and that's why it doesn't show up on my deal. But that's good stuff.
That's true, right? And I mean the trade here is easy because I've been liquidated before. Because I was around during the BitMEX days. Okay, like we liquidation used to be the stop. Before we figured out that that's a really expensive way to trade. Yeah, because they have to pay all the maintenance margin and all.
I've been liquidated only in isolated leverage positions. So, yeah.
Ooh, you're lucky.
Yeah, it was kind of like I took a shower one time and I didn't set a stop loss. I'm like, oh yeah, we're good. I get out of the shower and next thing you know, that position is liquidated.
Kaboom.
But yeah, it happens.
And then it always turns on a dime.
Yeah. That was just mismanagement on my end. That was just mismanagement on my end though. So that's totally my fault.
I mean, it always is, right? Like we can't blame anyone else, but that's like the fate, that's the trade that when you're like, if something that big gets blown up that belongs to one person, like it has to go down afterwards. Sure. And especially if you have your level that you already like, I want to short this level. Like why this high? Because if it's going up here, then it's going to make new highs. Basically, like this is last stop or new highs.
Correct.
My invalidation, basically, the last invalidation. And then that happening, it just makes it. Yeah, if there's anything I look for, it's the combo of those.
What are you thinking for Solana? Where's your level of interest for long and short? I mean, I know where I'm looking for, but for the people out there who are spot buyers, buy only, what's your next level of interest if we get there?
Ooh, yeah, that's interesting.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, exactly. Markets are to a large degree random, so yeah. So for Solana, I mean, I think it looks heavy. It doesn't mean that it's not going to pump this week and dump the next, or vice versa. I could easily see that happening. But what I'm still looking for is for these lows to be cleared out. And
yeah, me too.
It is, of course, important to note that doesn't have to happen now. Like this can always be left here, and we can come back through it later on. But what I would sort of look for and what I had as a plan is actually short any retest of 25. And at that point, the target would be down to 20.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because it's a range trade, basically. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. It gets interesting if do you mind sharing my screen for Solana real quick? Just real quick.
Absolutely. All right, you're on.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much look at the same thing, but I mean, it seems pretty clear. Some 12-hour. You just see how it had this step-up pattern. Sideways, up, sideways, up. These little step-up patterns. So within each one of those, I mean, you've got 12-hour order blocks. I mean, they're pretty easy. That if there's going to be, if there's buyers that got left behind here, they're like, God, I can't wait to buy, Solana back at 21 because they missed this little area here. That if they come in, yeah, that could be an area where it bounces. But you know how crypto is. A lot of times it'll shoot right through that and go down to the next one. So, I'd be looking for pop. But I think, Vlad, you had this target for a while ago. It was about 18, 18-ish for a possible short. Wasn't that what you were talking about? On a big time frame?
Yeah. For a larger time frame move, like the daily or something like that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely like possible. Yeah, 18, 17.5 would be perfect. Yeah,
if I'm a spot buyer, when we get around this 20, 21-ish area, buy some, but be willing to cut it if it doesn't go your way. I mean, don't you don't have to be a hodler. You don't have to be a hero. But if that's the case, then you just keep in mind for the next time. And of course, the market's going to fuck with you in the meantime. It's going to make you think it's going back up. And so, I better get in. This is the last chance to buy under 20, last chance ever. So those are the areas that I'm interested in. For some reason, I have a blue line here on 18.46, and I have no idea why. I probably have to zoom pretty far out to find out why, but that could be there's probably some meat inside of here, but I'm looking at more of a 12-hour chart. But yeah, of course we get to 25. Yeah, I mean, I'll short it again if I have to. 25, 26, let's go. That short you got on 26 was pretty sweet the other day, last week.
Yeah, that one was good. I so wish I was better at holding on to them. Yeah.
Well, the swing shorts are really something else. If you're still on my screen, FTM was one that I laid out for you guys and said, hey, if it gets to this 65 and swing fails above it, I'm going to swing short it. And guess what? It got above 65, 64.9, 65, and it swing failed it. And guess who didn't short it? Yeah, that was me. Mm-hmm. So I know, just brutal. And I don't take a lot of swing positions, and I need to because I'm going to be so busy. I don't want to be micromanaging this shit. So I missed it, but I got another entry. I woke up Saturday morning and it had pumped up to in the 63, 64, and so I took it. And I was like, same reasoning as before, is that, hey, if I get stopped out above this high, then I'll cut it and I'll look for another reentry up here. But it didn't happen. It just went down. But I'm with you. I wish I would have held it because now look at it. Yeah, that would have been a game changer.
Nice.
Oh, well.
So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would you mind showing us that Lido trade you took today?
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, sure.
Run through that.
I did show you part of it, but here's how it popped out. Is that looking at this was on a higher time frame. This is a 12-hour. I mean, I saw head and shoulders, knees and toes, right? and so, but me not paying attention on a Sunday is that look at this swing failure right here on the 12-hour, just barely wicked below the previous swing over here, and that's what you want in a swing fail, just a pip. Just a touch, wow. Not a big wick, because if you get a big wick, it's gonna, it's gonna get filled. It's gonna be lonely. It's gonna get filled, right? Wow. So, but you see after that swing failed, and boom. So this morning I started seeing it go up here. I wasn't longing it, no, not at all. It wicked it touched. I drew this trend line, and I don't really trade off trend lines, but it's at least good to identify. And then so it hit this, and then it started coming down, and I got in. Like I said, I think it was 211. I got in right around here. And yeah, it was one of those. Let's go to my low time frame one. It was one of those tight butthole trades when the New York opens. Yeah, when New York opens, because man, you just never know what's going to happen during a New York Open. And it was, where's 211? Yeah, it was right around in this area here. And you see this. Yeah, let's zoom in. I don't know if you guys can see because I have a split screen, but I talk about. I do martingale. I do martingale, but I guess I should rephrase that. I don't martingale into positions after it's been invalidated. Okay, so I should say more like scaling in to where I'm willing to scale in for another base position. And so here my stop was at 208, and you saw that this was at 209.47 was the bottom wick, and it had to do with on a lower time frame level, I want to say 15-minute probably. Let's go. Where are we at? 200. Oh, that's why I couldn't find it. There we go. There was an excess around 2. It's gotten cleared out by now, so it's not there anymore, but it was there. So anyway, so my stop was right around 208. So when we got approached to 210 and 209, I started throwing down, bigger positions. Because if I do get invalidated at 208, then it's just such a small marginal loss at that point. It's worth it. And I had the positions the other way too, but this is more like scaling in, getting pretty aggressive close to your invalidation. So I did that. And then I was getting my daughter ready for school, And then I looked at my phone and boom, big green candle. I was like, that's great. So I ended up closing it just because, I don't want anything. I just want to protect the money. And then, of course, it just kept on running. So that was the trade. But again, Wick, it had a lot to do with this OI and how the OI was not getting phased by any of this. And then when I looked at that Kingfisher and it showed that there was so much liquidation levels above 220, that's when I felt pretty good that it was going to get there. Yep.
Nice.
If the S&P would have taken,
yeah.
If the S&P would have taken below 4,000 on that open and it wouldn't have recovered, because it did recover, it went below there just for a little bit. But or not 4,000, 4,100, if it would have went deep down into this area here, then I wouldn't have had any faith in that, and then my 108 would have got hit. I can pretty much guarantee it. So that was it. Yeah, that's the OI here, and this is the CVD, this neon green line. So I look for that too. That shows there's a lot of market buys coming in versus limits.
Nice.
And so people are chasing price. Yeah, it was a really interesting dynamic. So some prop desk trader probably lost their job over this trade today, trying to get too cute and short it too soon. I don't know.
So we'll see. Yeah, that's great. And so you kind of exited right above that previous high with the red arrow, like near the top.
Yeah.
Of that
well, like I said, here I wasn't sitting at my desk to do this trade. So I closed the whole thing. It was about 218, 219, but it got filled like around 217, like around 216, 75, I think is what the official number was. Because, a lot of volatility, you're going to get some slippage. And I'm okay with that. It was still a bottom trade. Especially, here. I mean, I was listening to that Tom Hugard guy, which I actually like that guy a lot. And also his voice is really soothing, so it kind of calms me down at the same time. But he says that talking about how some of his biggest winning positions. I mean, you're uncomfortable. They make you uncomfortable, and that's because you're risking. It's the whole risk reward thing, and this was one of those tight butthole moments. I mean, I was within a cent and a half of getting stopped, and it would have been a pretty big stop. I'm not gonna lie, but it wouldn't have been life-changing loss where I got to go work another 9-to-5 job because I already have a 9-to-5 job. But that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, that definitely helps to hear how you kind of managed and the psychology and the tools that you use to get into that trade.
Yeah, and again, I'm a gambler, and if I think about, I've gone to casinos and thrown down, thousands, tens of thousands on games where you have no house edge at all. And so when I got into trading crypto, I'm like, wow, you actually have, a better edge than you have in a casino.
Right.
And so, yep.
A lot more tools, some hindsight. Nice.
It's still rigged, but it's not as rigged as much.
Yeah. Right. I had that FTM trade that I made was almost like the same. I mean, I didn't use the OI like that, but it looked like the same trade pretty much. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good catch because I'm actually I wanted to ask you where's an entry point for that one for FTM for you if you're looking to go long and buy some spot. What's a good spot for you think?
Put it over your your chart there, Rick.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. So, wow, I wasn't watching. That just came all the way back down. Man, that is satisfying. Just to have caught that. So, yeah, I'll go through just the logic of my trade real quick here because I felt really good about this one. Basically, this is kind of what my morning looked like. So I started on OP. I've been kind of trading OP and waiting for this top to happen and come down, right? We've been kind of looking for shorts. This morning, I checked out DXY and, looked at lower time frames here. And I was waiting for a breach of that 103.50 area. And I got my little notification that it did that, and I came and looked at it at that time. That was this candle, and it was getting close to closing, and I figured, cool, this just breached it in a super shallow way. And we haven't like made a giant run or anything from the daily open. So I'm thinking this is going to still come up. Like we still have a way to go up to grab most of the liquidity up in this area. So that was just kind of my idea, that we're not finished here. The dollar's going to run up here. And this was actually, this was my like tiny loser, basically break even. But I chopped it as soon as possible. But this is what I was thinking. Like we were right here at that time, and I saw these equal lows, and then I saw these equal lows here, and I'm thinking, okay, I've been looking for some type of short. I mean, I have shorted it in this area, done pretty well, and I've been looking for that bigger one that finally accelerates down to grab all of these lows into this gap area. And so I thought, okay, if dollar's going to run, dollar's strong, to start the week, we're going to get a big bullish candle above that area I talked about. And I saw this kind of like these sort of inside candles right here. And then there was, let's see, it was somewhere around here, but I saw a candle starting to move bearish here. And I thought, okay, all of these are like accumulating here. We're respecting these lows. We're building up. And I think this is the time that, since dollar's going to move higher, we're going to break down here. So I took a short like right in here, which, obviously isn't ideal because that's like right in the middle of a range. But felt pretty good. And then it did that trickery where it just shifts right back up. And so I was like, you know what? I want to be right immediately or just get out. So I just cut it. And I'm really happy I cut that, because then it just ran like that, And, you were looking at around 3 when we initially talked this morning. And yeah, and it just ran even higher. So got out of there, was kind of thinking, all right, I don't need to take another trade today. I'll just wait until something looks like higher confidence. And if it doesn't, then I'm good. And you mentioned sushi in the chat, in the Discord, and you're like, sushi's been like super strong for whatever reason. And I remember you posted that some kind of chart, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was just kind of like a relative strength chart. It's the one where it was like a whole bunch of the top performing pairs, all in one chart, just all these colorful lines. It was just a few days ago.
Spaghetti chart. You mean the spaghetti chart?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and so I remember seeing that and seeing that sushi was like at the very top, outperforming the rest, and then FTM was near that. It was like the second best, I think.
Yeah, it was monster last week.
Yeah, and so I just decided, oh, you mentioned sushi. I just want to take a look at FTM and see if it's doing the same thing as sushi. And it very much wasn't. It, much weaker than sushi at this point. And noticed this clean area here. Like we've got this big gap right here. This 5-minute gap is one that got skipped. This is some price action right here around 590 to 593. 0.593, excuse me, that price skipped through twice. So that typically is something that likes to get cleaned up eventually. So in my mind, I saw that. I saw this sort of acceleration zone area, all these like consistent lower highs here. And I thought, okay, we took out the low below this wick here, and came back up. We're kind of making this new pivot low here. We were around this spot at the time. And so, since everything was holding strong against the dollar while it was moving up, it's like no crypto. I mean, all the pairs I was looking at were either flat or moving up as well as the dollar. So that's relative strength in crypto. And I thought, okay, if we stall out on the dollar at all, or even do a downtick at all, like something's going to run, and so this was the one that looked cleanest to me. So I just got in right around here, right at like, it was 0.55 something, 556 or something like that is what it filled at. And my initial target was 580
Nice.
here,
Yeah.
right? So, and this is, what time is this? This is 8:30. Well, my time, so that's 10:30 New York. We tend to see volume at this time. I've noticed, and so I had a target here at 0.58, thinking that was pretty conservative because I thought we're probably going to come up and grab some of this at least, this gap here. And so I thought that was pretty conservative. And then as we're like boosting up, I started thinking this is going to act as a resistance. This is going to have a little reaction. And this is one massive candle. So I'm like, you know what? I don't want to give this back. I keep holding things a little bit too long lately, looking for that one trade that doubles or triples my account. And I'm giving a lot back by letting it come all the way back down to break even. And that's really, that kind of like eats at you, You didn't lose money, but you just wasted all of that time. So I saw this little initial reaction happen off of this little resistance area. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sitting pretty right now. I'm just going to cut it all right now. Like, let's not get greedy. And man, I'm super glad I did, because look at that. Like, that's
so no doubt.
I thought maybe after this close here, this like doji candle, kind of indecision candle, we'd see at least another little push up before the move down, and it just didn't give it. So that felt really nice.
What's the time of that big monster candle up? What is that? What was that time?
Yeah, that was 10:30 Eastern.
10:30 Eastern, so 7:30 Eastern my time.
Yeah. I always notice the volume right at that time.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Case.
Yeah, if you're to switch to my screen, I can show you the spaghetti for all the coins that we basically look at. And if I do it from 7:30, you'll see FTM is like right near the bottom. Yeah.
That's
FTM.
Yeah.
FTM mask right around that time. Sushi has actually faltered from that point. Lido just a fucking Chad. And so I'm not sure what to do about it at this point. I'm not trying to short it really, but yeah, it's pretty good. Usually I run these things from like New York Open from like 6:30. But some of the stuff will be kind of skewed because of how we had that I don't know, half hour after trading. Maybe it was actually might have been a good hour after New York Open. Yeah, it was a good hour, 7:30, right? That's when we had all that motion. So it kind of skews some of this, but yeah, you could see the overperformers and the underperformers from that point. Let's see.
Yeah, it's interesting how different it is from the last time you posted it just a few days ago.
Yeah, and I always throw the SPX on there to show how it works. What's really correlated with the S&P, just because that's what I trade off of, and you can see the S&P is. I mean, it's kind of hard to see this if you're not really like zoomed in, but S&P is kind of like in the middle of this cluster. Yeah, this cluster of all these guys. So Lido's the outlier. Lido's a tricky one to trade, so I'm not sure if I'm going to try to get too cute with the shorts or try to look for more upside, but. Apparently the market seems to think that around $2 that thing is undervalued, because every time it gets around that $1.90 $2 point, it usually shoots up pretty quick. So that there could be something there on like a market cap situation, and some investors seem to like it at that price.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you asked about FTM too, and like where would you find an entry there? Were you only talking about long? Like, like long, where would you buy this?
People are like spot buying. What would they? Let's see, FTM.
Yeah, I mean,
you probably have a more up to date chart than I do on this one.
I was just gonna say, I mean, you could find it on your chart. I have like a 4-hour chart open, and I want to see if you'll give the same answer. I have an obvious spot in mind, and I'm curious.
Oh, okay. Me, if I was looking to long this, I'm more of a gambler. But I mean, this area you got quite a few candle closes, around 0.49, 0.5. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty solid. But what I would do, I would actually pull up the volume profile. and see where was the value established previously. I would do a composite on this one on a higher time frame.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
oh
You need a
yes,
little bit more confluence, but yeah, that was my first like initial
right.
reaction there was just like, that seems like an obvious place that we'd have to work through to get past that. So at least a bounce from that spot.
Yep. But it seems to be, cooked for now, so I'm not touching it. I'm not even trying to short it at this point.
What do you think of the S&P now that we closed? How are we looking for the?
Well, closed above 4,100. Good. Closed above the daily EMA 8, which is what I like. So it closed above that. It closed above last quarter's high, so we're still, it's not horrible. It could have been worse. It could have been worse because futures opened down, and so it could have been worse, especially with what the dollar was doing. It could have got real ugly, but it's like looks like we're gearing up for a Tuesday where some decisions are going to be made. Whether it's the dollar going up, and that'll make the decision for a lot of this, I think.
All right, I like it. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's not a pretty close, but it's not disastrous, right? Could definitely.
Yeah,
bounce.
what you like to see in that last hour of trading, you like to see some green candles going into the close. But sometimes it's just short closing, and that's one thing that you can't. I personally don't know how to see that kind of data when it comes to a TradFi market, like you can on a crypto market. But what you don't like to see is just big dumps in the close. You don't like to see that. That's scary. But futures, yeah, if you go to the ES futures, I mean they're up, but not by much. Nothing to get excited about. Don't get too horny, as the Brit guys would say.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, yeah, it's hard to say. I would say looks like it's starting to kind of roll over a little bit, but that's just me being bearish at the bottom, probably. The local bottom. Here,
Oh
so.
no! It's pretty obvious if you look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin it looks like it's trying to roll over. Yeah, I mean, if you look at that, yeah, I mean, it's what it looks like to me. I mean, it's starting to lose this some of these daily trends. It's already lost the 4-hour EMA trend, which I do look at that. Trading below the EMA 8. Those are things that I look at too. And yeah, but on the higher time frames, it looks like it's starting to curl.
Yeah. Hey, before we head off, we have a Juan in the chat on Twitch would like to have us take a look at LTC.
LTC, the happening. Yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, I'm a buyer at this. I had orders at 88 that never got filled. So I'm one of those guys that got left in the dust. I'm also one of those guys that traded this thing around 69 and sold it in the 70s, right? But I see, pretty big resistance level here. So until that gets resolved, you're just buying dips. Sorry, my computer's being slow. There we go. Yep. Yeah, look at this. I mean, you see, this is a pretty big level though on a higher time frame that's trying to break above. I mean, if you get in, if we really nuke and get into the 80s, yeah, I'll probably buy this again. Yep.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty bullish.
Yeah, just because of the halving, and I know crypto bros they love the halving narrative, which I mean, I'm not bullish like that, but upside targets to this one, I mean, it is very reasonable that this thing could get up to 130. 130, 140, very reasonable. 120, I heard a lot of people talk about 120, but I mean, I can see it easily getting to that area. When it breaks this 100 area, yeah. And then, if you're talking about halving narratives, I haven't looked historically what happens with halving with this thing, but I mean, God, I remember selling. You know, just so you guys know, Litecoin was the first crypto I ever bought. I bought it at $222 in April of 21. It's like I'm kind of a number kind of superstitious guy, so I bought a bunch of it there, and then I ended up selling it in the high threes. So you see it like got a little bit above 400. Yeah, that was back in that April or May of 21, where I was like, man, this thing's going up forever. This is easy. Yeah, and then I learned that summer, yeah, not so much. Yeah. But I personally, yeah, I mean, it has no use case. It has no use case, you know, unless SEC comes along and bans proof of stake coins or something like that. Then, but other than that, there's not a big use case for LTC. But halving narratives matter, so that's gonna get above 100 at some point. I wouldn't buy it right now though, if that's what you want to know.
Sure. Wait for some kind of pullback. Yeah.
This looks like to me on this chart. it looks like
what's that?
It looks like you'll never get on board, because to get on board you have to
probably not.
You know what I mean? Like it looks
like basically buy now.
Well, or you buy the breakout.
Yeah.
Buy the breakout when it gets. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I know, man. I've been left in the dust on this so many times. But then I've caught good trades in the 60s and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a miss. Like I said, being a low time frame trader, you do miss out on some of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to keep running, huh? Why do you think it's going to keep running? Let's hear it, Vlad.
Yeah, just gut feeling based on how it looks, and also, I mean, happening narrative. I agree with you. That's very powerful, but we don't have one yet. Like there is a narrative about a narrative. Right now, I would say on Litecoin, like right now, it's it's going to be good when the halving narrative comes. But
is it happening later this year?
I have no idea. And that's maybe the point, I guess, is that we all know that there's going to be a halving. We don't know when it is. We don't know what the blocker word, like halving narratives for Bitcoin when you're in it. People, are actually talking about the thing. They're not talking about the fact that there's going to be a halving. Anyways, I hope I'm like semi clear at least. That sounded strange, but it also looks on the chart like it's just going to squeeze up. That's basically it on this chart. Like so weekly, basically saying we're not going to give you much of a retracement to get in on. So if you want to get on board, you have to be brave.
You got to buy resistance. Yeah. My understanding is that Bitcoin halving is supposed to be late next year, 2024, around that time, and then the Litecoin one is supposed to be later this year. But yeah, it's pretty good bottoming formation. I mean, if you look at on this weekly, I mean, you basically got a W-shaped bottom on the weekly. I mean, yeah, all the signs were there. Yeah, all the signs are there. But when I get into a scenario like here, when it goes up to 80, into the 80s, and then has a big weekly candle down, when it starts losing momentum around that doji, or that's not even a doji, I cut it around that area. It was before it got to 80, and I may have had some left in the 80s. I can't even remember at this point, but the bulk of my trade was between 60 and high 70s.
Yeah, I think I traded it once, 65 to 70 or something, which was a good trade. But
yeah, for sure.
That's definitely a boring dinosaur coin. So no one has it, and that means it has further to run. Right, it's gonna run until everyone has one.
Walmart is gonna accept it at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's close it out, I suppose.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, good sir.
Okay. We'll see you next Monday. Any questions, let
Yep.
us know in the Discord.
I'm gonna do this every
Absolutely.
Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
That we do indeed. All right, and of course, none of it has been financial advice. Don't be stupid. We are gamblers, except for Wick, who's an awesome trader. But me and Magna, we're also awesome traders, but we're also gamblers.
Yeah, I'm gambling. Gambling.
Just joking. All right, have a good one, guys. See you next week.